boat news thing, and I'm gonna be like, no, not really.
Hey, hello everybody. We're live. And Exit has so much boat news today. It's bursting at the seams with boat news.
At the seams. Oh boy.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we'll talk about that in a second. Uh, uh I don't know. And to be honest, everything sucks. that's that's
I
that about
want you all
sums
to
up
meet.
everything.
I want you all to meet King Doomer for the day. We know him and love him as Andrew, but today
Did
he's
I
having a moment.
did I see GTA? No. I mean, I like GTA kind of. I mean, I haven't played a GTA game since uh San Andreas. So it's been a while. But San Andreas was really fun. So uh I like kind of wanted to get the last GTA game. But it like I was too busy when it came out. And then like 5 years later, I was like, man, it's too late to get that game. And then it's been like 6 more years after that. It's been like, Jesus, like, can I come up with a new one at some point, please? But they're coming out with a new one now, so that's cool. I'm probably too busy to play it now too. I'll probably wait like another 5 years to be like, ah, oh, it's perfect. And it'll be the same problem again. I don't know why GTA has such a long lifespan. It's like each one comes out and it's like the most popular game for like 10 years straight. Anyways, uh,
I'd say something very witty, but I don't play like any video games, so I'm not really having that particular conversation.
you know, I'm pretty excited that Postscriptum was recently bought, that its popularity is like at an all-time high because it is like my favorite game, but I have not been able to play 1 second of it. so so it's like the game is like finally popular and I can't play it. Although back when there were like 5 people playing it, I was all over it. During COVID, that game was probably that was like the best game of COVID, like hands down. It was so much fun. But yeah, that was a different time. So there was. Did either of you watch that speech that Putin gave the other day? 'Cause I was just watching it like just now.
Wait, Putin gave a speech?
Oh yeah, he gave a huge speech. It was him declaring Putinism. Like like I don't know how you would describe it. Like it's kind of like declaring it as like the state religion or something. I don't know. Like he was standing on stage with two Jesuses on like one Jesus on either side of him. So it was like Jesus, Putin, Jesus.
Imperialism with Putinist characteristics.
Oh yeah. In the thing, he literally said like our goal is imperialism. It's like I guess all the Vatniks have to start being pro-imperial now. But anyways, it's an interesting speech in that whenever he gives a big speech like this, it's like a window into what he wants to do next. And in this case, he basically wants to be the cult leader. He wants to, I really think he wants to be like Stalin or something.
Oh, he absolutely wants a personality cult. I mean, the issue, I think, is that he doesn't have a really a coherent. Well, I should use the term coherent lightly because there's a lot of authoritarian totalitarian, I should say, ideologies that aren't coherent beyond the surface level. Nazism is totally incoherent once you kind of look below kind of the very basic statement of it, as one would expect. Communism is kind of incoherent, but there isn't really that, I guess, established ideological fervor to build a personality cult upon.
Yeah.
Well, at least that's my take.
This is an image of him in a stupid speech where you have Jesus, Putin, Jesus. A lot of people were really offended by this, by the way.
Is he just appearing on the screen, or is he actually at the?
He is not there. He decided that.
Oh my god!
He was too busy to go there, but he also simultaneously said that this event was the most important event in like Russian history. He was too busy to go.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. He was talking about how like they've had this event every year since 1993, and it's always been the most important thing ever. And this is like the first time he's ever even spoken at it. It's just fun. And he didn't even go. But anyways, this whole speech is just about him declaring like his goals going forward, and it's basically, I'm the cult leader, you're all my worshippers, we have to fight America is the threat, gotta destroy it, etc. He said the word hegemon in every single sentence of the entire speech because it's his favorite word, etc. That's the speech basically. Anyways, do you have any positive news, John?
There was an Su-24M that got shot down.
Oh yeah, it's a submarine now.
Yes. So my theory is I have three theories. Either it depends on how literally you interpret close to Snake Island, how much you take that at face value. I don't take it at that much face value. So I guess first off, there's the possibility that Ukraine had some air defense assets on Snake Island, and the two ship of the Su-24M and the Su-30SM flew close enough that they got engaged. I think that's not that likely, given that, assuming unless they deployed like an S-300 on the Snake Island, which they wouldn't, or any of the other larger systems that are going to be really difficult to transport there. I mean, they'd have to probably get within 10 kilometers of the island or so to be engaged by any of the relatively mobile systems. So I think that's fairly implausible. What I think is more likely is Ukraine moved a Patriot or SAMP-T up to somewhere near Ismail, south of Odessa, and engage them while they're deep over the Black Sea, 120 to 160 kilometers out, probably.
So that's one theory. Did you read that the Russians are also claiming to have shot down a MiG-29?
I had not read that.
Yeah, they say it's interesting. Well, I'm paraphrasing, but this is this is really close to what he said, but I'm paraphrasing. He said it's interesting that the Ukrainians are celebrating shooting down our Su-24, and none of them are mentioning the MiG-29.
That sort of sounds like copium. I'm going to be honest. I mean, Ukrainian air-to-air kills are kind of phantasmal in the sense that we don't really know if they've ever happened. The technological mismatch between Ukrainian MiG-29s and Su-27s and Russian aircraft is so massive that it's very difficult to imagine the circumstances under which an air-to-air kill could occur. There may have been a handful at the very beginning of the invasion, but I haven't heard anything credible about, possible Ukrainian air-to-air kills since the very, very beginning, when they potentially just kind of had the element of surprise that they were like in the air at all. Yeah, I don't say it's impossible, but it's just something that I just think is it's more likely they moved a Patriot battery around or a SAMP-T.
So if the plane were dropping bombs, the bombs have a range of like 60 to 70 kilometers.
Do we know what the loadout of the S-24M was?
No, but
Okay,
they've been dropping
Well,
bombs there pretty consistently for a while.
yeah, they've been dropping bombs.
UMPKs.
Uh,
I'm gonna say, please, when you say bomb, please be specific because that doesn't mean anything in and of itself.
so I was told fabs, and I don't know how accurate that is. And
Yes.
So to drop the fabs, they would have to get like very close to the shore unless they mean with UMPK kits.
Yeah, the glide bombs. I've heard that they were the 500 kilogram glide bombs.
that is what I believe.
Okay. What may have happened is they may have flown in at medium to high altitude, to maximize the range on release, and been expecting to be, beyond Ukrainian AD coverage of probably 80 kilometers at most, depending on where they are and where they're releasing from S300P. And they probably flew like right into Patriot or SAMP-T. If they had known it was there, they might have tried to insert low level pop up and release. But because then they could take advantage of the curvature of the Earth and probably minimize the time at which they got detected. That would be my guess. I still think it's most plausible if they've gotten engaged by, again, either Patriot or SAMP-T. I'm guessing likely. Again, depending on the altitude they were flying at, and if they were flying at low altitude to avoid radar detection far out, I mean, it could be PAC-2, PAC-3 MSE.
So, if I can add to the story here, they have been. So, Andrew, if you want to zoom in on the Delta area just a little bit. So, the kind of at the very top of your screen, there's kind of like an insert there.
You mean like
My
the Primorsk area?
Yeah. So my understanding is that a lot of the glide bombs that have been coming in have been kind of from that area out just a little bit, kind of straight east. And that they've been doing this for, I think we first talked about it a week ago, was it on the stream maybe? That they were bombing that area, and both you and I went like, why? It's kind of weird to bomb mud flats. That's a little bizarre. But they have continued that. And my understanding from the Ukrainian release is that Su-24 was also operating with an Su-30 SM fighter at the same time. And so I don't know if that changes your theory at all. They have not necessarily had a Patriot or a SAMP-T, I don't think, down near Ishmael for the most part, because they are mostly getting attacked by Shaheeds all along that Danube Delta, which I'm not saying they didn't move one down there. I'm saying they haven't had them there before. And so if they did this, it may have been in a direct response to these specific bombings.
That's exactly what I was suggesting. Yeah. I mean, they didn't have one in Bryansk before they shot down 5 Russian aircraft in Bryansk. So, I suspect they were probably fire brigading one of those batteries down there to, again, kill one mission and then hope that deters the Russians from doing it again, at least for a while.
For what it's worth, the Russians claim to have dropped around 100 bombs today on Krinky. So maybe put some air defense near there. Shoot out planes, please.
It's exhausting to watch them like operating in so many places. Like, because it's not just these uh bigger bombs that they've been using. Sorry, John, what's the name I'm supposed to use?
UMPK.
UMPK. It's not the UMPKs that only that they've been using in this area. Like that's the same area in between Snake Island and the shore there is my understanding is the same area that they're dropping the larger submersible mines as well. So it like as Andrew finds the same frustration over on the other side of Ukraine, I have this same frustration here of like you just watch them operating over and over and over again and the Ukraine doesn't have an answer to it and it's entirely infuriating to be watching it from our standpoint.
What about this one? Did you read about this? The mine that they found and blew up. Is this like a World War II mine or is this like a new mine? I don't know anything about this mine. I just know it's a mine. I assume it's a World War II mine.
I hadn't seen. I don't think I saw that one. The last one I saw was further up the coast, so I probably missed this one.
Yeah, this was yesterday.
Yeah. I mean, it could have been either. So the currents in the Black Sea up until 2 days ago, they were actually moving towards Sevastopol and not towards Odessa. So it probably was an older mine that was closer to the shore before. The storms that we had last week and the week before that would have broken mines free. It's almost guaranteed that that happened. But I doubt that those mines hit shores yet specifically. It's more likely that that was an older mine. Just based on what the currents have been doing.
So that's anyway, there were strikes in Crimea yesterday or last night. Then I know nothing about those strikes. I don't know if either of you know anything about those strikes. I know that they were in like the eastern part of Crimea, but I literally know nothing other than they happened.
I don't think that we have a ton of detail on them yet.
Yeah, I know.
Like
it was a cloudy day today. Unfortunately, there were a number of satellite passes, and I know a bunch of people who wanted to buy images, but it's too cloudy, so we got nothing.
We have lots of reports, and none of them confirmed, and that's the biggest issue. The only thing that was confirmed, because MT Anderson was able to pull a satellite image that saw through the clouds on this one, was that it looks like there really was a sub being towed by another vessel, probably a recovery tug. But exactly, like it's a relatively grainy image, and other than his ID of that's and one video that may or may not be that particular incident, I don't think we have a ton of confirmation on that one either.
So anyways, I guess we could get into the horribly depressing news for today. There was a strike in Kherson. It was an S-300 strike on the cinema right here, and we have both the video of the strike and the video of the aftermath. The aftermath is basically the cinema was used as a humanitarian aid station where they distributed goods to civilians, and the missile burns down everything. And we can look at the video, I guess. So this is the S-300 that we see in that video. I can show that video too. And this is the little motor and whatever. But yeah, it burned down this entire cinema, which was an aid station. It killed 2 people. I believe both of them were like walking down the street when the missile hit. And it wounded another of significance, this was an aid station, a civilian aid station. Now, this was not the only civilian aid station that was intentionally targeted today. But before I get to the other one, I'll just show this. This is the S-300 strike. There was a second missile that hit. This, for some reason, only shows the first one. So yeah. There was a second humanitarian aid station that was struck today in Chasiv Yar. Now this station, apparently, from what I've heard, they waited for the volunteers to show up and start distributing food. And once they were distributing food, they shot grads at it continuously for 2 hours. So that is what happened in Chasiv Yar. One person died, 5 more were wounded. One of the wounded people is an 84-year-old woman who is in critical condition and could easily die tonight. So those are 2 aid stations that were very intentionally targeted by Russian rockets and missiles. So yeah. That's the depressing news for today. I don't know what to say. There's also a whole bunch of various civilians targeted by artillery. I honestly think Russia intentionally targets civilians, but whatever. Well, at least with artillery, not necessarily with other stuff.
I mean, at this point, if you're targeting people just walking down the street with artillery, I don't really know how you argue that they aren't doing that intentionally.
Yeah, I mean, we have a video from Berislav of they flew a few drones, each one with multiple grenades. They flew it over to a known humanitarian building where people go for electricity mostly to like recharge their phone and to get hot water. But anyway, they flew over to that with multiple drones and then were targeting the people walking in and out with the grenades. Just like all day. Like they just spent all day doing that. And posted all the videos, by the way. So in the videos, you just see like these old men, because they're like 70 years old, like getting chased around by a drone. And like even after it dropped the grenades, it kept chasing them around just to terrorize them. So anyway, that's the sort of the stuff that is just a regular occurrence that today there were a whole bunch of bombs dropped in Krinky. I geolocated some of them. There's just a lot of bombs. The Russians claim that they dropped 100 today, or roughly 100. They did announce recently that they've unlocked a new technology in their tech tree, and this technology allows them to drop 4 bombs at a time instead of 2. So, and they also stated that they'll soon be dropping 6 at a time. Now, I have seen them drop 4 at a time. I've not seen them drop 6 at a time. One of these videos, they probably dropped 4, but I think one was a dud because only 3 exploded, which was interesting. It was right here. You see 1 explosion, 2 explosion, 3 explosion. No 4th explosion. Very weird. There's probably a dud though. But anyways, I don't know of any other changes near Krinky. The Russians are claiming that they've basically closed them in and they've control everything outside of this immediate vicinity where they keep bombing. I kind of find that hard to believe, to be honest. But I really don't know. I have a lot of people tell me that my gray area is too small, and I have other people saying that it's too big. So I don't know what to say. My gray area is based entirely on geolocated footage. So the westernmost point is geolocated, the easternmost point is geolocated. The southern point is not geolocated, that's an estimate, but east and west are geolocated. Anyway, so just to stay with the changes over the past few days, because there have been a number of just small changes, to be honest. I can't even remember them all because they've been so many. Oh yeah, this one. There's been this little change here, there, which was based on some drone footage of Ukrainian drones bombing a Russian trench. This area has gone back and forth and back and forth, and it's not super interesting, to be honest. Moving on south, there's this area here, which is to the east of Yampolivka and Terny. Some say that Russia has captured all this area, and some say they haven't. The Russians posted a video of shelling the Ukrainian position, in the same position that people claim that Russia captured. Now, it's possible that video is before the capture, but I have no firm proof that they have actually captured it, but I have increased the gray zone. Speaking of gray zone, did either of you read about the comments about gray zone today? I found it interesting.
No.
The gray zone, as in Max Blumenthal, or the Telegram channel?
The Telegram channel.
Okay, no, my answer is gonna be the same either way.
Okay. They said that the reason he hasn't posted in a while is because he's like in combat, which I found interesting. I wasn't expecting that to be the reason or the excuse. Because a lot of people thought he died or went to prison or something because he just disappeared out of nowhere. Anyways, today there were some videos of Ukrainian drones attacking right there, so I increased this little area control. The reason that looks so weird is because one of the Ukrainians pointed to a position on the map and said there's no Russians within 500 meters of this position, or whatever it was. I think it was 500 meters. But anyways, he said within a certain distance of that position. So I just kind of took his point and drew a circle around it and made the whole area a gray area. That's why this looks weird. But that was a long time ago. So yeah, now this area around Bodanivka. This area has not been going well. To be honest, it's all kind of collapsing back to Bodanivka. We had this video today of a Russian, probably recon, moving on up into this little forest strip, which is this right here is a reservoir, so it's water. We can actually watch this video. It's like almost impossible to analyze. You can see very blurry smudges moving around, and those are apparently Russian infantry. And right here is water to the right, and these are trees. So that little smudge is a dude. So yeah, this is just Russians advancing. Now, the meaning and the analysis of this area, I honestly have no idea. Like, I legit have no idea. I am not entirely sure why Ukraine appears to be pulling back so far. We have heard that Ukraine is outnumbered between 5 and 10 to 1 in this area, which is bad, I imagine. Not great for defense to be outnumbered that much, but yeah, it seems weird to me. They could be doing this sort of the defense where they allow Russia to move forward and then clear them out again, just to kind of keep this buffer area clean. That's kind of what they were doing near Berhivka for a long time until they were overwhelmed and had to withdraw. They might be doing that again here near Bodanivka, and the same around this highway area. But basically, this whole area is leveling off into this kind of flat front line, and I'm not really sure where the backstop is here for Ukraine. Russia has a very clear goal, which is to capture Chasiv Yar. And if you remember, Chasiv Yar is the primary defensive line for this area, and one of the more important defensive positions on the front line. So, or well, I guess it's not really on the front line, but it might be soon. Anyway, so their goal is to capture Chasiv Yar, and I don't think they have the resources to do it at the moment, although they are attacking like literally everywhere simultaneously. So maybe Ukraine doesn't have the resources to defend. It's hard to know what their ammo situation is and what their infantry situation is, how many infantry they have available. Everything is all very in the air. Yeah. Well, did you guys see the video today of Ukraine going into the gym and mobilizing like the entire gym? Like they just walked in, they're like, "You guys look strong and healthy. You're mobilized."
Yeah, that's scary. I mean, the truth of the matter is that they need people, and that's not going to change anytime soon. So it's going to start happening.
Yeah. Yep. I could probably find that video if you give me a minute, but I don't know if it's worth it. I think it was on the Kharkiv channel. It wasn't. Never mind. I'm not going to look for it. So there is one piece of information that I kind of wanted to share. I couldn't find it. I found it. This is about FPV drones and their importance and the problems that Ukraine has with it. And I think everything this guy says is objectively true. And everyone I've talked to about this completely agrees with everything he says. So here we go. I don't know, Exit, do you want to read it? I'm really bad at reading. Would you like to read to the people?
Give me 1 second here. I'm trying to get it full screen so I can actually see.
I could just send you the text if you want.
No, it's all good. Good this is going to go well. Good morning, everyone. The issue of FPV is not just a matter of the number of drones. This is also a question of the entire infrastructure for the operation of drones, from antennas, working with frequencies, etc., to BC.
Ammo.
Right, of course. Electronic detonators. My screen just went fuzzy, sorry. Which are also in short supply. Our Army needs these internal changes. We have detailed proposals and developments, generalizations of experience and analysis of the use of drones, and we are ready to share it because we have one goal. For effective mass application, it is necessary to initially expand the staff of UAV operators at least in each battalion. The presence of strike aircraft complexes, RUBAK, in the brigades of separate companies is an insufficient solution in the case of FPV. Because if FPV is now like a mortar or artillery, it is no less important and should be massive. We need each battalion and preferably a company to have their own full-time units of FPV operators, so that each battalion has people to work with drones in its line of responsibility, cover assaults, repel enemy attacks, destroy the enemy on ambushes, etc. There is another option, separate UAV battalions in brigades. It is possible to do differently, and it will be better than now. In our army, even now, most FPV operators are snipers, mortarmen, scouts, and sometimes even cooks. And only part of that is in the shirts. In not all brigades, the command promotes the development of FPV, often hinders it, but there should be a maximum assistance. Comprehensive solutions are needed, and immediately. This can be organized by the Ministry of Defense. It can and should lobby the higher command of the armed forces. Change is needed if we want to keep more of our soldiers and destroy more of the enemy.
Yeah. So basically what he's saying is that first, the military needs to organize FPV drones in a very meaningful way. Like the military has to take over and treat it as basically a standard weapon of the military, and not as like a circus toy or something. You need a set way of using the drones. You need a set way of communicating with each other between battalions, between brigades, who you're targeting. You know, I'll go for this one, you go for that one, that sort of thing. You need a standardized way of training people. You need standardized ways of supply. All of this needs to be done, you know, in the military, and it can't be done so haphazardly, and it can't be done you can't have like a drone company in a brigade. Like, it's not good enough. Like, you can have a drone company in a battalion, but if you're going to have it in a brigade, you're going to have have a drone battalion in a brigade, not a company. Anyways, so those are the sorts of things he's talking about. That all of this needs to happen as fast as possible, and yeah, especially the communication, which is really an enormous problem. Communicating between drone pilots and between battalions and brigades is an absolutely enormous problem, because as you can probably guess, you can very easily waste resources when you're not communicating. So you don't want to be in a situation where it's like watching a little kid's soccer game where, you know, the one kid gets the ball and every other kid runs to the ball. Like, that's not good. You can't have everyone run to the ball. You have to spread out a little bit. And right now, Ukraine is all running to the ball, if you know what I mean.
I mean, I think the bigger, even bigger takeaway from that is that Western militaries should obviously be looking at this and learning. And like, we give the US crap a lot for maybe not realizing this, but I haven't heard other Western militaries moving towards this model either. I mean, I can only really speak for Canada in that we have a hard enough time even succeeding at half of the stuff that we try to do on a regular basis, and we can't succeed at any of those things. But I don't know if there's other Western militaries out there that are actually working towards something like this.
Well, do you mean, sorry, the model of, I guess, FPV integration, or more broadly, just small UAS integration?
It's about,
I think
this is very specifically about attack drones.
Okay,
It
because
doesn't even matter what the drone is. It's just drones that attack things.
what I would say is the U.S. From our side, we're certainly moving toward a greater integration of loitering munitions of various descriptions. I think offensive small UAS in the sense of FPV drones, as we see them in Ukraine, that's not really something we're moving towards. The impression that I personally share as well is that specific implementation of small UAS, Ukraine is likely the high watermark for what we call for FPVs. Countermeasures are going to proliferate rapidly after this, and the threat to countermeasure paradigm will become much more equal. But again, we are pursuing tighter integration with a variety of loitering munition assets. We're looking at a variety of small UAS systems and larger ones too that have offensive but non-kinetic payloads. So we're looking at UAS with HPM, high-powered microwave payloads, EW, electronic warfare payloads. UAS isn't really my ballpark, so I guess I won't speak too specifically to it because I can't. But that's definitely something that we're working on trying to improve. It's not moving as fast and I guess as efficiently as it probably should. One of the things that kind of has held us back in a sense is we didn't really get a kickstart from already having a preponderance of UAS for ISR or ISTAR, intelligence surveillance, target acquisition, reconnaissance, simply because we can rely on aircraft for the most part to do that, manned aircraft and larger UAVs to do that, like MQ-1s, MQ-9s, etc. And we have a variety of other larger UAS assets for that role. We never really we didn't have that running start from already having that reliance on small UAS for ISTAR, because again we just fundamentally, based upon our force structure, we had different assets to that. So that sort of, I guess that has delayed to some extent, at least in my view, our integration of offensive small UAS and loitering munitions.
Yeah. Now, one issue that Ukraine is having right now, I don't really understand how this is a problem, like honestly, but it's a lack of like fuses for bombs, like for their dropped bombs. I
don't
don't
believe that.
like I don't understand how we allowed this to happen. like I don't understand how there isn't someone somewhere who can manufacture a fuse. It just seems bizarre to me.
Fuses are arguably the most complex part of a munition by far, so they are often a bottleneck.
But we've had fuses for a long time. Like, it's not
They're
new.
still, I mean, listen, a shell casing or a bomb body or a mortar round, it's fundamentally a fixed geometry of metal with an explosive filler on the inside. Sure, if there's effort they have to put in the manufacturing process and infrastructure to make that casing, and at a step up from that, you have to put in effort into chemical manufacturing to be able to produce the filler, which I would argue is more complicated and resource intensive than the shell casing itself. And then finally, you have the fuse, which either has a bunch of small moving parts in it, if it's a mechanical fuse, or it's it's electronics, or it's a bunch of microelectronics with a smaller number of very small moving metal parts in a very complicated arrangement. So fuse production is not something we have a lot of transparency on here, at least from the US side of things. But from first principles, you would expect it to be maybe not the most expensive part, but it's certainly one of the more complicated. It's the most complicated part of a munition to manufacture, usually, at least in the context of a shell.
Well, we we have people sawing the CIPM shells. I don't know if I spelled that right. Whatever. I'm too dyslexic for that. Sorry. Anyways, we have them sawing them in half and taking out the fuses inside because there's such a shortage of fuses. It's just bizarre. It's just bizarre to me that we can't produce that sort of thing. It's just weird. But anyways, so he pretty much touched on all these issues mostly. So this is just a thing to keep in mind. This is a really big problem that Ukraine has to deal with, um, to make better use of their resources and to fight back, basically. Because Russia is doing these things as well, and they're probably further ahead than Ukraine, to be honest. Uh, but anyways, getting down to Klishchiivka, uh, Russia is moving on. They're moving up this hill above Klishchiivka. They're getting uncomfortably close to the main trench line above Klishchiivka, which is pretty bad. Pretty bad, actually. I would say it's actually really scary, to be honest. Um, but I'm not so sure they currently have the ability to capture this trench position up here because it is rather easy to defend. The trench is not entirely above ground. There is a very large portion of this that is underground. I can't really zoom in further than this, but you can see right here and right there. These are two doors. You can barely see them, but there's like this little white line that's like horizontal. That is a door to a bunker that goes underground. And each of these lines that cut across the trench is a door to the bunker. So you can see all of the doors to all the bunkers. There are a lot. There were a lot of pretty horrific videos that came out from this area over the past few days. Probably some of the most horrific videos that I've seen in the entire war, to be honest. Very nightmare-inducing. I highly suggest not looking at them, but they all came in this general area as Ukraine was attempting to push up to do a counterattack, and the counterattack did not go well. Ukraine did manage to push Russia back further from the railway immediately north of Klishchiivka. But this northwestern attack is worrying. There was an attack, I believe, on Andriivka recently that failed. Russia is constantly launching attacks, and when I say an attack, it was a rather large attack. There were rumors that Russia entered the town. I don't know if that was actually true, but there were rumors that they entered the town. I don't think they captured anything, and I do believe the town is currently completely in Ukrainian control. But this whole area is very iffy. Again, Russia dramatically outnumbers Ukraine. Very dramatic. It's like over 5-1. Probably closer to 10-1. Moving on further south. In this area near Horlivka, Russia claims to have recaptured all the positions they lost. I'm not sure if that's true. I've not seen any proof of it. Now, getting to the north of Avdiivka, Russia is getting closer to the coke plant from the north, although it's not really saying much because they haven't moved far, and there's no real obvious way that they can advance from the position they're currently in without a dramatic change in the landscape of unit strengths and etc. So, but they have advanced slightly towards this coke plant, taking this little area. This is kind of a this kind of shows you there's these like concrete walls that kind of separate the rail from this wooded area, and they've been basically going up to these little like concrete walls and hiding against them, and there is these like culverts that go under the rail, and they go into those culverts and hide there too. So that is the sort of terrain here. It's rather flat, and there is this concrete wall that you can see this like white thing going up and around. Anyways, I'm not so sure they're going to be able to do much there unless they get a much higher troop concentration. Because all of these assaults that I see are maybe 15, 20 guys. 15 or 20 guys are not going to be able to assault these trenches that Ukraine has built right at the north of this coke plant. This area here is kind of a trench network. I don't think you can attack them with 15 guys. You're probably going to need hundreds. So if they start moving in that sort of infantry, it would be worrying. But currently, they don't appear to be able to do that. They've also tried moving up this tree line, moving directly west, and some claim that Russia has captured this intersection here, but I've not actually seen proof of it. There was a video that came out yesterday. I kind of wish I could show it because it's kind of funny, but I'll describe the video to you. It was a few Russian infantry. I think there was like 4 or 5 of them. They get attacked by an FPV drone, which I'm not sure wounded any of them. Maybe wounded one. The Russians look so later. They just get lit up by a Bradley. Oh man, it's just a funny video. I suggest watching it. They went from so relieved to so upset so quickly. Anyways, yeah, I don't know. I kind of want to break up my talking.
Can I have a question.
Sure.
So obviously they have or I shouldn't say this is obvious. My question is, do they just generally have a higher concentration of infantry up near Klishchiivka right now instead of down at Avdiivka, sorry.
Oh, they have a huge concentration in both. It's
Okay.
and in both they're doing rather small attacks. They're doing these like it's like squad level attacks constantly. Like they send in like 15 guys, they all die. Send in another 15, they all die. Send in another 15, they all die. It's constantly. Every once in a while, you send in a few tanks and like BTRs and stuff. Most of them die too. And you send in like 15 more infantry and they all die. That's what these attacks are. But it's the constant attack, I think, is wears down the defender. I think their general strategy is to just keep attacking until Ukraine runs out of ammo. And when Ukraine runs out of ammo, they either have to withdraw or you see them surrender. Like those 2 guys did, if you remember. And then they were killed. So yeah, I think their strategy is basically to consume all of Ukraine's ammo with their body.
That was my question. Is that or my follow-up, I guess, is that what we're seeing happen up at Klishchiivka, is that Ukraine just doesn't have the ammo to keep up to that? Because, sorry, it's been a while since we looked at this, but could you show me the gradients and like, isn't there a hill around there that I am trying to remember off the top of my head?
Yeah, the hill. Yeah. The hill is to the west of Klishchiivka, right. on this right here. It is what. So Russia is kind of moving like parallel down the ridge of the hill towards Ukraine's fortifications. They may have even reached the outer layers of the fortifications, and they may even control them now. So that's why it's worrying. But yeah, and to be clear, it's not like their strategy isn't to like literally make all of Ukraine run out of ammo. It's to make like those like 30 guys run out of ammo.
Yeah. So my memory's not as good as yours, but isn't that basically exactly what Ukraine did? They worked along the top of that ridge and pushed them back, and then they were able to work down that ridge when they originally took Klishchiivka.
Yeah, they kind of did this kind of double pincer thing where they were attacking Andriivka, moving along these forests, and at the same time they got a foothold in Klishchiivka on this southwestern part, and they eventually took most of this forest here. And then they were kind of squeezing from both directions, pushing Russia out. They they pushed Russia out of the main town last. That was mostly because Russia, they just refused to admit defeat. They got to that point where they were acting totally irrationally. They should have just pulled out, but they decided to like fight to the death over it. So so Ukraine eventually captured the town itself, but yeah, they attacked this hill from like every side. Basically, they moved from this little tree intersection on over onto the east. They attacked down into. First they attacked. Well, first they attacked here. They got this tree line. Then they went down and captured here, and then it took way longer than you would think to go from right here to like right there, which is like 200 meters, but it took them like a month. But they eventually got there, and then they moved through this whole forest and down. So yeah, that was basically an attack. They attacked like all of Klishchiivka, like all around, and just squeezed Russia out. Now what Russia would love to do is take Andriivka and wrap up this hill, attack it from attack Klishchiivka from the rear, but they can't. Like they've tried to, and they just can't. So their next best option is to go down this hill and take these fortifications, and then squeeze Ukraine out of the town. I don't think Ukraine would be stupid enough to hold on to the town. I think they would just withdraw because that's the rational thing to do. Because you'd be at the bottom of a hill in a destroyed ruin with no cover and no supply road. Typically, you just withdraw at that point, but Russia doesn't do smart things. But anyways, yeah, that's kind of the situation Russia's trying to pick up right now. They're attacking Klishchiivka the hard way, basically.
Thank you.
Yeah. So Russia is also stacking Stepova. They've probably captured part of the town. At least the outermost houses, if not maybe even a little bit further up. We had a video of a Ukrainian tank. Actually, a two-part video. It's a pretty cool video, actually. So this tank kind of rolled up this road, or that road, up this road. It came through here. It was shooting all of these houses with a big old gun, and then it kind of went north into this tree line and got into a fight with a Russian tank, and somehow defeated the Russian tank. I don't fully understand how it defeated the tank, but it did. I think the tank just got scared. Like, because the Ukrainian tank was using the strategy of not using its armor at all. That was its strategy. And the Russian tank was using the strategy of not aiming at the Ukrainian tank. So, tank duel. So the Ukrainian tank shot the tank, which I believe, if I remember right, was I can't remember. I think it was a TAD BVM. I'm not sure. But anyways, it was right here. The Ukrainian tank shot it, and the tank panicked and just drove away. And it reversed a bit. It did something very smart. It popped smoke. Very smart. And not only did it pop smoke, it popped the smoke, moved through the smoke, and then stopped, waited for the smoke to billow, and then drove away that's how you're supposed to do it. People can learn from that. Anyways, it drove on back and drew over here and drove down that road, down that. So
Did you cheer?
Quite interesting. When that happened, I wish I weren't so happy about it. We can watch this actually. I think I'm gonna skip to the part where it's the tanks fighting each other. I'm glad I don't think this is the right video. This video, I'm glad I didn't show this video. This video is just piles of dead bodies. Oh, it's good I didn't show that one. It's literally just piles of dead bodies. Or I'll find the other video.
Hey, look, there's a tank.
Yeah, you see he's using the strategy of not using your armor. And here's the enemy tank. That tank is using the strategy of not aiming at your enemy. So it's one side's not using its armor, and the other side's not using its gun. This is fantastic. So it panicked and ran away. It's the T-80 BV. No, it's not. It's a T-72B. Yeah, look at him go. He's popping smoke and everything. I don't know why he just shot that tree. That's the part I don't get. But you see how he stopped and he's letting the smoke billow? That's what you're supposed to do. You're not supposed to just keep driving. Anyways, that's the video of a little tank duel. That is the way this video worked. Is that yesterday they released part of the video. The part they released yesterday was the Ukrainian tank basically engaging in this town. Say a little helicopter. There's a Ukrainian helicopter. So you see the Ukrainian helicopters doing some air support. And the tank has a 50 cal. You don't always see those. Yeah, he's rolling through the town, kind of shooting these houses. And eventually he goes over to those trees. Can't show that part. Can't show that part. But anyways, he goes into those trees, and then you see part 2 where they fight the tank. So it was a 2-part video released on 2 different Telegram channels on 2 different days. Maybe there will be a part 3. Who knows? Maybe there'll be another video tomorrow. So yeah, there was another pretty interesting video that came out yesterday. That this video is not new. It's old, but it was incredibly interesting. Well, the video is new, but the event happened on October 29th. So I'm going to skip to the cool part. So it's two Bradleys. Actually, I'm going to skip this part too. So it's two Bradleys. They dumped their infantry, and they are engaging two Russian positions, actually. One position is on the left and one's on the right. We keep going ahead. So these are the two positions. Yeah. This video is all very interesting. I suggest going and watching it. It is an older video. I mean, well, the event is older. It's from the 29th, but it's super interesting, and I put it on my map yesterday. Also from yesterday was this video from Omega that showed all of these Ukrainian drone attacks around this kind of residential area of Avdiivka. Many people posted the geolocations of some of these drones, but not everybody located this one like I did. I located it. Required a satellite image to do, but I did it. Anyways, this one that nobody located, I think is actually kind of one of the more interesting parts of the whole video. But basically, this video it showed that Russia, at least at one point, controlled this area. From what I've heard, this area in particular, like this, has changed hands several times. I don't know who currently controls it, but let's just roll with Russia, I guess. And I don't know. I think that's kind of all the changes, right? Were there any more? Oh, there was another thing that was interesting this weekend that happened. It was a robot. There's been a lot of interesting robots recently. I don't know if you've seen this one, Exit.
I definitely have not. Show me, show me.
It's a
Oh,
supply robot.
Cool.
I have no clue how much weight it can carry. It can carry a person, so that's something. But yeah, it's a little robot. This is Russian, by the way. So this little robot is rolling on up to resupply a Russian position that was apparently in a dangerous location. I don't want to give you any spoilers or anything, but this robot was attacked and survived.
The robot survived.
Yes, well, the attack missed, but it was attacked by an FPV drone. You'll see in a second. But yeah, I have that's an FPV drone that drew a circle around.
Oh, yeah. That was unexpected.
It's not the first. It's not the only attack. I have no clue any stats about this robot. I don't know how much it can carry. I don't know what the range is. I don't know anything. I just know it's a robot.
So both sides have started using these to drop supplies to different places that they just have a really hard time getting anything to safely. And I suspect that in the next, depending on the mud, because I imagine like it's got covers. Oh, look at that. It's got covers on the tracks there. So I imagine that like if you were in really sticky mud, that would gum up relatively quickly, I would think.
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. But it's interesting to watch the evolution of these because it's really just in the last 6 months that we've started to see a lot more of these.
Yeah, so I'll show you where this robot was. This is the position that it was resupplying. It is right there. And this is where it was attacked by an FPV drone. So that this is where that happened. In Avdiivka. Where's the artillery? Bro, I wish Ukraine had the ammo to shoot at robots, but they don't. Were there other changes? We've already talked about Mariinka, I think. Yeah, I haven't changed much there in a while. I'm not sure if there are any other changes to talk about. Oh, there was this apparent advance near Priutny. I'm not entirely 100% convinced this is recent, but I can't tell you it's not recent, so I can't show this whole video, but there are parts of it I can show. Oh boy, don't do things. Okay, so here you can see the geolocation at least. You can see that there is this pond, this other pond, a gap between the forest, and it matches right here. There's this pond and that pond, and there's a gap between the forest. So basically, Russia assaulted this position. They apparently captured it. The way they captured it seemed like suicidal to me. Their strategy was like, what if we just charged it? Like, what if we just ran straight at them? It worked somehow. I don't know how that worked, but it worked. I don't know if Ukraine later counterattacked and retook it back. I have no idea. But we do have this video of Russia apparently capturing that position. Yeah, that's kind of it. Recently, there have been a small counterattack by Russia north of Verbova, but that's not super interesting. And yeah, there's been this area to the west of Robotina. Russia assaulted it and were unsuccessful, which was interesting because we thought this area was in Russian control, but they assaulted it and and lost. So it kind of showed it was not in their control. So I had to change that bar in the map. So yeah, that's kind of all the news I got. The news is not good. The news is basically Russia is attacking everywhere. They outnumber Ukraine everywhere. And the one thing that Ukraine can do to stop the attack is shoot artillery, which we're not giving ammo for. So that's kind of the situation. Yeah, we talked about the Su-24 already. John, do you want to talk about the ammo in Israel thing? Because
Can I ask one question about the Su-24?
sure.
John, you said you had 3 theories, but I really only heard one. What was the other 2?
Oh, I said all 3.
Did you?
The first one was that they have that air defense assets in on Snake Island. I think that's unlikely, just given the range of any of the mobile systems they'd likely put there. Then the other 2 are Patriot or SAMT.
I gotcha. Sorry. I conflated the last 2.
Do you want to talk about all the ammo is in Israel thing?
The transfers to Israel?
There's this narrative that Ukraine doesn't have ammo because we sent all of our ammo to Israel.
Right. So, as far as has been reported, we've only transferred 57,155 rounds to Israel. So, I mean, obviously, that's not fantastic, but I mean, it's a small drop. I mean, we withdrew 300,000 rounds from WRSAI, War Reserve Stockpile Allies, Israel, with the consent of the Israeli government, and transferred those to Ukraine. So, again, 57,000 is not a massive number in the grand scheme of things. I mean, again, the fact that you have to transfer any at all isn't great, but again, 57,000 is not the end of the world. It's a hiccup, but again,
Yeah. So we're not sending all of our ammo to Israel. There is ammo in Israel that they buy from us, right?
so I'm not sure if there is any 155 left in WRSAI. There's a very convoluted legal process they have to go through to access it, and I don't think that's actually been initiated yet. The president has to give Congress 30 days notification before a transfer can be made from WRSAI, and I'm not aware of any notification having occurred, or if it did, it hasn't been published at all. It was done in the classified setting. So yeah, if there was any left, that would be how it's done in terms of transfers from the U.S. Again, we had that agreement that we'd backfill Israeli stocks if there was any contingencies or emergencies in the region, which ended up obviously occurring. I'm not sure what transfer authority that's actually taking place under. I'm not sure if they're technically like doing a foreign military sale from U.S. stock, or if we're doing it via presidential drawdown authority. It isn't clear to me what actual legal mechanism has been used for that transfer. But yeah, I mean, again, 57,000, it's a road bump, but it's not the end of the world.
So South Korea has a ton of ammo, and I don't think they can give any of it to Ukraine, right? They have various laws or whatever that bar them from giving ammo to a country at war, I believe, or giving anything to a country at war.
Japan or South Korea?
South Korea.
I'm not sure if that's true or not. I don't think they have much political interest in doing it, though, to begin with.
Well, from what I've read, they can't legally. I mean, they could change laws. Anybody can change laws, right? But anyways, they're not giving ammo to Ukraine. That's kind of.
Speaking of, I guess, support for Ukraine, do you want me to do the 1-2 of good news and awful news?
Sure.
Okay, so the good news is, some of you may have seen this. There was some reporting going around that the U.S. was transferring 500 Bradleys to Morocco for free, and at least on Ukrainian Twitter, it like imploded with the force of a thermonuclear bomb. Fortunately, I was able to, with the help of some folks, we dug into the congressional record we found from May of this year, a report to the House Foreign Affairs Committee, notification of a transfer of 500, quote, military vehicles to Morocco under the Excess Defense Articles program, with a total value of $10 million. And what we were able to do is, so that $10 million figure, that represents the total value of those 500 vehicles, rather, or I should say, it's the combined net book value of all of those military vehicles. The net book value is the historical acquisition cost of the system minus accumulated depreciation. So this is the same figure that we use for computing the value of items transferred to Ukraine via presidential drawdown authority. The source of that big accounting error the DoD made was because for a lot of items, they ended up using the replacement cost instead of the net book value, which is what they are legally required to use. So if you actually break that down, 10 million divided by 500, that's 20,000 per vehicle. Even that's low for a depreciated Bradley that's like 20 years old. Fortunately, we had transferred Bradleys to 2 other countries in large quantities under the Excess Defense Articles program. We transferred 120 to Croatia in 2020, and we transferred, or at least the request was made in 2020. And Greece likewise requested the transfer of 367 Bradleys in 2018. Based upon Croatia, that was 120 Bradleys with a total net book value of $16 million. So now sit down and think about this for a minute. In this, you have 120 Bradleys that are worth 16 million collectively. And then allegedly you have 500 quote military vehicles that are supposed to be Bradleys that are worth $6 million less, despite the fact despite the fact the quantity is 4 times as large. That doesn't make sense. And so if you actually do the math, the net book value of the Bradleys from 2020 worked out to be about $133,000 each. So in order for those 500 military vehicles to be Bradleys, the value of the Bradleys remaining in DoD inventory would have needed to depreciate by 85% in 2 years, which seems a little bit implausible considering the fact that they did not depreciate at all between the 2018 transfer to Greece and the 2020 sale to Croatia. In fact, they actually appreciated in value, although I think that's probably just a clerical misinterpretation, probably because the Greece may have been getting Bradleys that were in slightly worse shape than Croatia. But in any case, the net book value the Bradleys essentially did not meaningfully depreciate on average from 2018 to 2020. And if we believe that it was 500 Bradley those transferred to Morocco, they suddenly had to then depreciate 85% in 2 years, which again doesn't really make sense, not in the context of military equipment.
No. I mean, that puts a Bradley at like the cost of like a used car. It's pretty good.
Yeah. So that story is probably false. And I mean, all the outlets reporting it were very questionable Middle Eastern or North African media outlets that nobody's ever heard of. The Pentagon said nothing. The State Department said nothing. No U.S. media outlet, no U.S. defense media outlet. Nobody said anything. None of the major Moroccan media outlets have said anything. So I suspect it's probably a mixture of like MRAPs and Humvees, I suspect very strongly. Obviously, we don't have conclusive evidence of what the vehicles were, but I suspect it's pretty likely they aren't Bradleys. So I guess massive scandal averted there, or likely averted. How do you want the bad news?
Sure.
I just got the text of the supplemental, and oh my god! So this is not the final form the bill will be passed in, if it gets passed at all. This is just what the Senate Democrats have put forward, I guess, as their starting point. They released a summary of it, but I was able to find the full 167 pages like 10 minutes ago. It's not good. It's just not great. The presidential drawdown cap is only $7.8 billion for both Ukraine, Israel, and everywhere else on Earth. That's bad. The administration requested 7. The more realistic ask is like 30 billion. So this is like horrifically bad. USAI is okay. It's at $13.5 billion for the rest of fiscal year 2024. That's okay. It should be higher, but it's okay considering these are all long lead time items for the most part. But yeah, the PDA cap increase is bad. It's really bad. And yeah, I don't know where to go from here.
Yep. America. So is Biden still claiming he can spend last year's money?
Yes. I don't know if the DoD Inspector General has released their report, but that's still the thing. Well, they aren't claiming that they can spend last year's money. So the whole legal theory is that because of the accounting error, the items that we provided to Ukraine were worth less collectively, $6 billion less than we thought they were. And so the whole idea is that we've already notified Congress that we had already committed all of the drawdown authority, I think, was it 28 billion, I think, total collectively from FY22 and FY23. The whole legal theory is that Congress has already been notified of the utilization of all $28 billion, however specific number it is, for both those 2 fiscal years. But the actual value of the equipment provided was short $6 billion. So the whole idea is that they then have that they can legally give Ukraine additional equipment as they deem fit for however long they want to make up that $6 billion differential. That's the legal theory. I don't know if it's necessarily legally sound, but in any case, unless the DoD Inspector General comes back and report and says this is blatantly illegal, it shouldn't be an issue. The DoD IG report does come back and say that then we're all screwed. But I'm hopeful that won't end up being the case, because that's kind of one of our last recourses at this point.
I don't see why it would be illegal, to be honest.
I mean, if you take a strict interpretation of the Foreign Assistance Act, it probably is.
I don't see why.
I mean,
he declared that he was going to spend the money, and then
the whole thing with PDA
less than he
is
declared.
that the president's supposed to notify Congress of the specific items as well. So yeah, I mean, again, I think we just have to do what we have to do given the practicalities of the moment. But I would suggest a strict reading of the FAA, a very strict reading, probably doesn't do that legal theory any favors. But again, I'm kind of skeptical the DoD IG would just torpedo our last remaining bulwark of support for Ukraine.
Yeah. I mean, we just have a failing political system is kind of the problem that we're dealing with. So what are you going to do? I guess you could vote for better people, but that would be silly.
Yeah.
So anyways, I don't know what else to say. I'm just really fucking sick of our government, to be honest. It's really, really frustrating. Yeah. That's all we got. I guess we'll be back on Friday. Maybe with better news. Probably, to be honest, probably with worse news. But we can, I mean, things can only get so bad before they get better, right? It's not, in baseball we had, there's a lesson you learn pretty early on. Things are never as bad as they seem when they're going bad, and they're never as good as they seem when they're going good. And you just gotta stay in the middle somehow, even if it sucks. Although sometimes it gets so bad, you're sad. And that's right now. Anyways, we'll be back on Friday. Goodbye.